This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Inclusivity questioned. The mother of a boy with autism says her son was told to stay home for 2 weeks because of his behavior.
Growing support. A group that provides food to residents in the Preston area expands its services.
And when a hospital stay kept this teen from attending his grade 9 grad, classmates brought the ceremony to him.
A cold front will bring showers, the risk for thunderstorms, and a drop in the humidity for Wednesday. Still hot, though. Your full forecast is coming up.
A woman from Middle Sackville says her son has been denied his right to an education because his school is not equipped to support neurodivergent kids.
The grade 3 student was told to stay home from school due to behavioral challenges related to his autism diagnosis. Selena Alders brings us that story.
Sarah Mullins is raising concerns about the state of inclusive education in this province after her son, who is on the autism spectrum, was told to stay home from school.
They don't have the people or the structures in place for kids, especially kids with autism diagnosis. They don't.
Her son Nash is in grade 3 at Millwood Elementary School, where he receives one-on-one support. But he has a habit of fleeing school property when he gets overwhelmed or overstimulated. On May 16th, Mullins received a letter from the Halifax Regional Centre for Education saying that staff could no longer guarantee his safety at school and he needed to stay home until they could come up with a plan.
If you don't fit within a certain cookie cutter, or you can't mask your behaviors to get you through the day, they have no tolerance or patience for it.
Stephanie Carver with Inclusion Nova Scotia says removing kids from school should never be the answer.
That child's peers no longer expect to see them in the classroom setting. And so there is a very natural exclusion, segregated mentality that is developed by everybody in the school setting the more that child is excluded from school.
Nova Scotia's inclusive education policy states that all students, including those with special needs, should receive full-day instruction every day with flexibility based on the student's individual strengths and challenges. CBC News asked HRCE and the province whether this policy was being upheld in this situation, but they did not answer that question. Nash was ultimately out of school for a full 2 weeks, but has since been allowed to return. Mullins must now have someone on standby at all times to go pick him up and bring him home should he wander off from school property again. Selena Alders, CBC News, Halifax.
The daughter of a senior who was left alone in a parked community transit vehicle for hours says she has many questions about the incident. Donald McKean is an 81-year-old resident at the Magnolia long-term care home in Enfield. On June 11th, he was picked up at his daughter's house at about 3 p.m. by East Hants Community Rider, a transit service operated by a nonprofit organization. He was supposed to be taken back to the Magnolia, but he didn't make it there. His daughter, Kristen Giles, says she and her husband found him 7 hours later, still inside the transit vehicle, fallen out of his wheelchair and lying on the floor.
As soon as I found him, I just put my hand on him and said, "Dad, like, you're safe, you're safe." And he said, "He just left me here, he just left me here."
The driver?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea why? What happened?
No, not a clue, not a clue.
Giles says her father is back at the Magnolia now, but his health has been impacted. CBC has contacted the transit service, the nonprofit that runs it, and the long-term care home, and they have not responded to a request for interviews.
Well, a sweltering day in Nova Scotia for sure. Ryan Snoddon with us now to talk weather.
And some tough sleeping weather tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. A notable day in terms of temperatures and the humidity, and it was the second warmest day all time at Keji in the park there, 34.4, feeling like 45 with the humidity, and yeah, feeling high 30s into the 40s for many across Nova Scotia, and indeed an uncomfortable sleep tonight. Those dew point values are going to remain very high in that oppressive range overnight tonight, so really tough for sleeping if you don't have air conditioning. Wednesday morning starting, again, feeling very soupy, but we are looking at the wind to shift to northerly throughout the day tomorrow. And so that drier air will be ushered into the province throughout the day. That humidity is going to be dropping. And so we will feel some relief. Temperatures are still going to be warm on Wednesday, maybe a shower early on along the Atlantic coastline. Those showers will move out, mostly sunny skies. As you can see, temperatures still into the high 20s, near 30 for many, but the humidex levels are going to be in that 30 to 34 range. And so, yes, more tolerable in terms of how it feels and a better sleep for Wednesday night, Tom and Amy.
There is
All
that.
right.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Nova Scotia's Auditor General says the province needs to be more transparent about how it's spending money on school infrastructure. A new report from AG Kim Adair says it's not clear how the province has decided where to build new schools in recent years. Adair says the province should be considering enrollment projections, boundary reviews, and upcoming housing developments, but it does not seem to always be doing so.
There's room for subjectivity in the decision-making process and/or political influence. They should be evidence-based decisions. These are multi-million-dollar projects. A new school can be upwards of $100 million. They're going to impact our students for decades ahead. It should not be a subjective process.
Adair made 6 recommendations, and she says the province has indicated it will act on all of them. However, she noted that a previous Auditor General did a similar review 10 years ago and made similar recommendations. Adair says some improvements were made following the first report, but more still needs to be done.
Officials with Dow Legal Aid say the results of recent Freedom of Information requests heighten longstanding concerns that the provincial government affords them less access than it does the group that represents landlords. One request shows that Service Nova Scotia releases eviction data to rental housing providers NS upon request. Sydney Blom says it's not been that simple for her group, which resorted to access to information requests to get data.
It's incredibly frustrating, and I think it just highlights the disparity in the way these two groups are treated. And at the end of the day, what we're really looking for is the same information that the landlords are getting, and for the same reasons. We're just interested in knowing that the government is making data-driven decisions about legislation. We want our advocacy efforts to focus on what is actually happening on the ground, and we can't do that without access to proper information.
Service Nova Scotia has since forwarded the same information it's provided to landlords to Dow Legal Aid. A representative for the province says there are no attempts to withhold information from groups that represent tenants or landlords.
The group that helps feed families in the Preston area is expanding further this year to support even more people. The local food network is now growing fresh vegetables for the first time and is also making upgrades to a community shed where people in the African Nova Scotian communities can pick up food. Gareth Hampshire has that story.
This is the greenhouse where the Preston Area Food Network is starting to grow its own vegetables. The organization started serving families in the area about 2.5 years ago and is now growing.
To deal with the high prices of grocery items that are in the grocery stores and have things that are accessible and free and that come directly from the earth.
The group partnered with the Acoma Foundation Community Garden to use the space. Donors have provided seeds and volunteers are helping take care of the plants.
I think most of all, the volunteers are excited about helping out. They have something to do, they have something to look forward to, and they feel that it's a way of them giving back to the community as well.
Non-perishable foods have been available through purpose-built sheds in North Preston, East Preston and Cherrybrook. They've helped provide food to about 100 people every 2 weeks. Growing food is a goal to try to offer more nutritious options.
We've seen the canned goods, we've seen what we were giving out in the shelves, but a lot of those things are higher in salt. So we want to things that are fresh from the ground, fresher the better. So a combination of both is ideal.
The seedlings will be planted outside in the garden before being made available through the community shelves. This one in Cherrybrook is being equipped with solar panels to provide heat in the winter and power a fridge and freezer.
the temperature would drop and the items that were in the cans would freeze. And as a result, the freezing and thawing would cause damage to the product. So we couldn't keep it on the shelves.
The Halifax Regional Municipality is helping pay for the upgrades, and the group is hoping to secure funding to do the same work on its other sheds, as it continues to offer essential services to the communities in the area. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Cherrybrook.
The Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation says total sales were up 1.6% this past year. The Crown Corporation released its year-end financial results today for the fiscal year that ended on March 31st. Total sales hit $888.3 million, with an increase in both alcohol and cannabis sales compared to the previous fiscal year. Despite the increase in sales, earnings decreased by 1.3%.
It is a bumpy summer start for Northumberland ferries. Beginning today, NFL has canceled a number of sailings between Nova Scotia and PEI, this time because of low tide and how it affects the boats. The CBC's Cody McKay explains.
Summer has just begun, but there's already changes to Northumberland Ferries' schedule. This week, they're restricting vehicles on some sailings and canceling other sailings altogether. That's because Northumberland Ferries says it's how low tides affects the boats. So far, NFL has canceled 11 sailings this week between Tuesday and Saturday. The bulk of them are afternoon and evening sailings. NFL Ferries has not gotten back to CBC News to comment on how exactly the low tide affects the ships, and it's unclear whether this has to do with one boat or both. People in the area CBC spoke to say it may have to do with the draft on the boats or the bottom, and that dredging work in the harbour hasn't been done in years and should have been done ahead of getting the new ferries. Scott Anir with Morley Anir Trucking says Transport Canada knew they needed to dredge for the ferry and the dredging didn't get done. This isn't Northumberland Ferries' fault. MLA for the area Darlene Compton has spoken about this recently and says the work has to be done.
I think one of the concerns is dredging. We need to dredge where the ferry docks, and I know the fishermen are concerned about that. And I think that there is plan for dredging in the late fall. I haven't heard anything different right now, but dredging is one important aspect of having a reliable operational ferry.
NFL is asking people to book a reservation in advance because of the low tide situation and is reminding people that standby availability is limited. Cody McKay, CBC News, Wood Islands.
A teenager from PEI has to miss his grade 9 graduation later this month. That's because he'll be receiving treatment for leukemia at the IWK here in Halifax.
But as Juliana Grillo reports, his classmates didn't want him to miss out, so they decided to bring the ceremony to him.
2.
Lachlan McCabe did not imagine he would be playing word search with his mom at the hospital this time of year. He expected to be busy with his grade 9 graduation. But after being diagnosed with leukemia, the 15-year-old was told he needed to stay at the IWK for treatment.
So come on up and get your certificate.
However, his class wasn't going to let him graduate without a proper ceremony. That's why his classmates and teacher traveled all the way from rural PEI to Halifax.
I felt good, because some of them shaved their hair, and that was a surprise to me. That was pretty cool.
The ceremony took place at the hospital's theater. About 14 kids from his class attended, which is most of them. His teacher handed him his diploma while his friends cheered him on. His friends also signed a plushie with the school's logos, wishing him a speedy recovery. His mom says these are difficult times for the family, so she's glad to see people showing up for her son.
It was emotional, for sure, because you just appreciate the thought and the effort that went into it. I mean, they got up and they caught the 7 o'clock boat in the morning, so it says a lot for teens to hop on a boat that early in the morning.
She and her husband took some time off from work to stay with their son. She says a friend created a GoFundMe for them to help alleviate the costs of staying in Halifax. She is moved by how supportive her community has been. Lachlan says his treatment is set to last 2.5 years, and he looks forward to getting back into doing the things he loves.
Yes, I really want to get back on the ice, so I'm looking forward to.
In the meantime, he says his hospital stay hasn't been too bad, and he was happy to have his friends celebrate his graduation in person. Juliana Grillo, CBC News, Halifax.
Good idea to cool off in this weather.
Great idea.
Ryan's got his forecast coming up next.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
Oh yeah, it's sticky out there, but the humidity is going down.
Yet the heat is staying with us for a little bit.
Yeah, the heat sticking around, the stickiness thankfully not sticking around, but it will be still obviously the case overnight into tomorrow morning, as I said, and then dropping really throughout the afternoon tomorrow. Let's have another look at those highs today. Some impressive highs, and these are automatically uploaded into my system, so there's a couple that I want to point out. St. Stephen, New Brunswick actually hit 36 after this little update happened. So that was the hotspot in the country today, feeling 45. Keji felt 45 with the Humidex. Greenwood, Kentville, both were 44, 45 with the humidity. So it was crushingly oppressive in terms of the heat and the humidity. So wouldn't you like to be here?
Oh, what a perfect place to be.
Perfect place to be.
Lots of spots available. Lockport Crescent Beach, beautiful there in the sea breeze, of course. And as we look at the actual temperatures right now, you can see Western Head is at 12, Back Row is at 14, Shelburne's at 29. So it really all depends on where you are, your proximity to the coast, whether you're feeling the sea breeze or not. And so that's why temperatures are just so variable. There's so many microclimates here in Nova Scotia, aren't there? You can see 32 still in the valley, 28 to 31 in the metro area, 33 Antigonish, Cape Breton, 26 to 29. And as we look at the humidex values, still into the 40s for many, especially inland northern areas, but at the very least, pretty much into the mid 30s. Now, dew point values really kind of tell the story. Even if your temperature is cooler and your dew point is above 20, it still feels really oppressive. That's going to be the case tonight as well, with those dew points staying very, very muggy. Now, note, there's the showers and a couple of rumbles of thunder. Amherst Shore down through that North Shore, seeing a few showers earlier. These are kind of fizzling out though as they move over that cooler water. Similar story in through the Bay of Fundy. They seem to be hitting that coast and fading there. But there is, as the front moves into Nova Scotia, the potential for some showers and thunderstorms tonight, but they do look fairly isolated as they move through. So not going to get a lot of relief in terms of any wildfire risk, unfortunately. Look at the temperatures, still 34 in Toronto, 35 in Montreal, and you can see the mugginess that is in place with these high dew points. But note the drier air off to the north, and as our winds shift to northwest tomorrow, we're going to tap into that drier air mass. Overnight tonight, high teens, low 20s, very muggy, very soupy. This is the case, and you can see those showers and a risk for a rumble of thunder, yes, over the next couple of hours, but again, it looks pretty isolated. The risk into tomorrow morning along the Atlantic coastline, back into the Shelburne, Yarmouth area as well, and as we move our way throughout the day, then it's mostly sunny. We'll see some clouds in the mix, but overall, it's going to be a very, very bright day. Northwest winds will keep temperatures cooler in Inverness County and back towards the North Shore as well. It'll be variable in terms of your proximity to the coast. Mid-20s through most of Cape Breton. 29 Sherbrooke, Eastern Shore will be back near 30. Similar story through the Halifax area, right near 30 degrees. And again, with the humidity, with the dew point dropping, the humidity is only going to be feeling, with the humidex, it's going to be feeling about 34 to 35. So a noticeable difference from today, but still very hot. Still take care out there. Still could be dangerous, especially if for those with medical concerns. So heads up on that. You can see temperatures are going to be very warm in the southwest as well, cooler in those sea breezes. One more look at this dew point dropping away into that comfortable range. By the time we get to Thursday, this is going to feel like a terrific day, really, especially if you're not a fan of the humidity. We will be watching the clouds to kind of build up again on Friday throughout the afternoon and evening. So increasing clouds on Friday. This is on the leading edge of a system that we are keeping an eye on for the weekend. There is the muggy meter dropping away and staying away, which is nice, at least in the short term. Keeping an eye on the weekend system approaching Tom and Amy. The timing looks like maybe approaching through Saturday and leaving through Sunday. Lots of uncertainty with that. We'll keep you posted. And I'm watching Canada Today as well.
We will want to know. Okay. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Coming up, the daughter of a man who was left trapped in a transit bus for more than 7 hours speaks out. man is facing charges after an 81-year-old man was found in distress inside a public transit service vehicle. Donald McKean is a resident at the Magnolia long-term care home in Enfield. On June 11th, he was picked up at his daughter's house at about 3 p.m. by East Hants Community Rider, a transit service operated by a nonprofit organization. He was supposed to be taken back to the Magnolia, but he didn't make it there. Kristen Giles is Mr. McKean's daughter. So can you take me back to the night when you realized your dad hadn't gotten safely to the Magnolia as you originally thought?
Yeah, so he was here for his weekly visit, and he was picked up at 5 to 3. And at 10:30, we got a call from the Magnolia that said that they couldn't find him, that they had thought that he had gone with a family member. And I said, well, yeah, he did, but he was picked up at 3 o'clock. And the fellow said, well, I'm gonna have to go look myself. And so we waited a few minutes, and then I called Dad's cottage back at the Magnolia, and they were frantic. I knew there was a problem. So we jumped in the car, and Andrew said, he's my husband, could he still be in the van? I thought, no, that can't be. So we went up the main highway, the 102, right to where the vans are parked. And there was one wheelchair accessible van there. But of course it was 10:30, it was dark, it was terribly lit. So when I looked in, I couldn't see anything. And then Andrew got his cell phone and was looking through the window, and I could see just the top of the empty wheelchair.
What went through your mind?
Well, I knew if the wheelchair was there, that Dad was there. And we tried to break the window. I tried to break the window and couldn't. So Andrew found a rock and he broke the window. And when we found Dad, he was on the floor. And he had been sick and he was pinned between the seats. He does have a pressure sore on his waist. And as soon as I found him, I just put my hand on him and said, Dad, like, you're safe. And he said, he just left me here.
The driver?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea why? What happened?
No, not a clue.
And what did you do at that point?
We called, so right away, I called 911. Andrew called my son, because my mother was on her way to the Magnolia. She's 80 with a flashlight to find him. My son picked Mom up, so they were on their way. So we let Jake know that we had found him. He was in the van. And I was on the phone with 911, and something had happened out on the 102. So it took a long time for emergency response to come. And just tried to make him comfortable. And I did take the seats out of the van to try to get him in the recovery position at least. I knew he was awake and he was talking. But then he was so sore. So the emergency response, it was one of the volunteer fire departments. I'm not sure who responded, if it was Enfield or Elmsdale, but they were fantastic. There was one girl in particular, she had a blanket and they got Dad, comfortable in laying properly, and then the ambulance came.
Wow. So what kind of injuries did he suffer?
He has a pressure, so when he fell, he bumped his face. So some of his teeth are broken. He has a very, very sore shoulder because it was kind of pinned behind his back. He has a pressure sore on his knee, and that's from being on the one knee for 7.5 hours.
And it was hot that day?
It was 26. So it was hot, and it was in a locked vehicle with tinted windows. So I can't imagine how hot and how helpless he felt.
How are you feeling?
I feel angry, but it shouldn't have happened. Like, why wasn't he missed? Why wasn't he missed at 3 o'clock or 3:30 when he was due back? Why wasn't he missed at supper time? There's a dining, like all the bedrooms are in a circle, and there's a living room and a dining room right in the center. The meals are cooked right on site. So I don't know why somebody didn't say, is Don coming for supper? That would have been, like, somebody must have asked.
What do you want to happen now? What kind of changes do you think should be made?
Well, I think if the procedures were followed, I think there's procedures in place, because when Dad was accepted at the Magnolia, we went through all of this stuff, that they knew his schedule and that there'd be a transition of responsibility when he got back. So if everything had been followed, this wouldn't have happened. He would have still, the driver still would have forgot him, but it would have only been an hour, and that would have made a big difference.
And the driver has been charged.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
The driver has been very, very good to Dad. I believe in my heart it was an accident. I don't think he did it intentionally, but it happened. And it's unfortunate that the Magnolia isn't held as responsible.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
The CBC has contacted the transit service, the nonprofit that runs it, and the long-term care home, and they've not responded to a request for an interview. Coming up, a fragile ceasefire between Iran and Israel appeared to hold Tuesday after initially faltering.
And extreme heat. Parts of Canada are dealing with an uncomfortable and potentially dangerous heat wave. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump says the ceasefire he brokered between Israel and Iran is holding, but he expressed deep frustration over the countries fighting again after his Monday evening announcement.
Both sides accused each other of launching fresh attacks. As Chris Brown reports, it's a truce that feels very fragile.
Israeli reaction to Donald Trump's F-bomb over Israel allegedly breaking the ceasefire that he helped broker has been to essentially overlook it. In a statement, the Prime Minister's office confirmed much of what we knew, that after Trump announced the deal in the middle of the night here, Israel embarked on a number of bombing missions in Iran, and that Iran responded before the ceasefire kicked in with its own reprisals. It fired ballistic missiles, at least one of which hit Beersheba and killed 4 people, including an off-duty soldier. Then Israel says Iran fired a couple of other single missiles over the next few hours, to which the defense minister here ordered another big strike on Iran, and that is apparently what set Trump off. In the end, Israel said it settled for a smaller reprisal, hitting a radar station in Iran instead. Benjamin Netanyahu is characterizing this 12-day war as a tremendous success for Israel, as it eliminated what he called dual existential threats in the nuclear domain and in the field of ballistic missiles. The country's president, Isaac Herzog, sounded a similar theme as he toured that damage in Beersheba.
What we have done successfully in this operation is to remove the Iranian nuclear threat looming above Israel, the region, and the free world.
Iran's Security Council spun the outcome a different way, saying it was Israel that was forced to accept defeat and a ceasefire unilaterally. Iran has obviously been badly hurt by this war. Israel assassinated a lot of its key people, scientists, and military leaders. Plus, it appears to have destroyed a large part of Iran's nuclear program. Whether this ceasefire will stick is now the key question. Previously, say in Lebanon between Hezbollah and Israel, there were extensive negotiations, terms and deadlines. Here, we don't know who has promised what. There's no document to look at, and we don't know what the expectations are about the future of Iran's nuclear program, or really anything about the whereabouts of the sizable supply of enriched uranium. Chris Brown, CBC News in Jerusalem.
Now that a ceasefire between Israel and Iran has been announced, some Iranians are heading back to the country, but many others continue to leave. Briar Stewart has more from the border between Iran and Turkey.
After news of the ceasefire between Israel and Iran, there's a lot of hope, optimism, and also a fair bit of confusion along this border crossing in eastern Turkey. Now, for one, people are confused because a lot of areas in Iran, there's not a very stable internet connection, so people haven't been getting regular updates. And then, of course, on top of that, after U.S. President Donald Trump announced the ceasefire, it then appeared to be violated quickly afterwards by both Israel and Iran. Now, in terms of the situation at the border, it was very busy today. A lot of people leaving to cross into Turkey, but also I would say a few hundred crossing back into Iran. This border crossing is particularly busy because, of course, the Iranian airspace is still closed, and people who were out of the country at the time or perhaps in Iran on vacation visiting family just had to leave via the land border crossing.
There'll be a ceasefire, and my government and the Israel also there are some problems, but I hope that the ceasefire will happen.
You know, the politics people, they are linked, they work together to damage Palestine and Iran and Israel. Everything it's so bad. I was in Iran as a tourist, and I'm very sorry. Who made Iranian miserable, hard life like this?
Now, a lot of people that we spoke to did not want to appear on camera, and in some cases didn't even want to give us their names because they're fearful of the situation in Iran and the level of repression against people who speak out and voice even really the slightest form of criticism. What we heard, though, is that people are very wary of the situation. They say that they think that the Iranian government will try to quickly rebuild the military and security infrastructure that was hit, and that it could further worsen the situation on the ground in in Iran with the economy. Iran has a very high rate of inflation, and of course it is heavily sanctioned, so that's an issue for people. I spoke with a few English teachers who work remotely online teaching international students English. They were leaving because of the poor internet connection, and they didn't really think that it would be possible for them to keep working in Iran as things remain as unstable as they are. Briar Stewart, CBC News at the Kapakoi border crossing.
Leaders from the NATO states are now in The Hague for a summit. Most seem ready to commit to spending 5% of their national GDP on defense and related infrastructure. U.S. President Donald Trump seems pleased with that.
You know, when I went to NATO, they were broke. When I first started this whole thing, they weren't paying their dues. 7 of the 28 countries, at the time it was 28, were paying their dues, but they weren't paying very much. NATO is broke. Then I said, you're going to have to pay, and we did a whole thing, and now they're paying a lot. Then I said, you're going to have to lift it to 4% or 5%, and 5% is better. And I guess they're voting on that today, but they're going to be lifting it to 5%. That's good. It gives them much more power.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is in The Hague with Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand. She said Canada is committed to boosting its spending on defense, but has questions about the timeline for hitting that 5% target. She noted that some allies have proposed meeting that target in 2029.
It has been another sweltering day in much of southern Ontario and parts of Quebec. The regions are in the midst of an extreme heat wave. The high temperature can be dangerous for your health because it puts the strain it puts on your body as it tries to cool down. Christine Birak explains.
If you're thinking it feels hotter than it did years ago, you're right.
Canada is disproportionately heating up more than the rest of the world.
Scientists say warming across Canada has been about twice the global average, with temperatures rising 3 to 4 degrees in parts of this country. And the hotter it gets, the harder your body has to work to cool itself.
When the temperature rises, we try to get rid of that extra heat in the body faster. So our blood vessels expand.
To keep your core body temperature around 37 degrees, your heart pumps faster to push more blood to the skin, which helps you sweat. As sweat evaporates, it sucks heat out of your body. But when heat or humidity gets too high,
we can get into a situation of heat exhaustion relatively quickly.
It stresses the heart, and dehydration strains our kidneys.
How quick are we talking?
Oh my gosh, it can be as little as minutes.
Scientists say physical activity often leads to heat exhaustion in hot weather. Untreated, it can progress to life-threatening heat stroke.
That can cause problems in your brain, that can cause problems in your heart, that can stress out your cardiovascular system, and things can get very severe very quickly.
Heat kills more people worldwide than any other form of extreme weather, especially when overnight temperatures remain high.
When you have 24, 25 degree temperatures through the overnight hour, that doesn't give you any relief, which doesn't allow your body to recover from that heat, and you just stay elevated and warm throughout the day and throughout the overnight as well.
During heat waves, those who are young, elderly, pregnant, or have a mental illness and are on certain medications are at highest risk. Symptoms like dizziness and nausea need to be taken seriously. To stay safe, drink water, seek shade, and monitor those who may be struggling to keep cool. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
New numbers from Statistics Canada show the inflation rate held steady in May. Rent and mortgage costs eased off slightly, and the recent removal of the consumer carbon price continues to temper prices at the gas pumps. Nisha Patel reports.
Prices at the pump were down almost 16% in May compared to the same time last year. Canadians also paid less for travel, with the cost of air transportation dropping 10%. Prices for groceries and shelter are still rising, though not as fast as before.
We know that population in Canada did not increase in the first quarter, and immigration policies are a lot stricter now. That has led to housing demand to go down.
Overall inflation in May held steady at 1.7%, but core inflation, which strips out volatile items like food and fuel, is hovering around 3%. That's still too hot for the central bank's comfort. While the trade war with the U.S. continues, there weren't many signs that tariffs are pushing prices higher just yet.
Canada dropped quite a few of its retaliatory tariffs. So that's why I think we haven't seen a big jump in prices, generally speaking. A lot of the threats did not materialize. A lot of import and export were able to access the market tax-free thanks to CUSMA.
The biggest problem for businesses and the Bank of Canada is all the uncertainty.
At the bank, we're keeping a close eye on the job market and inflation. Further weakening in the job market will put more downward pressure on inflation. But if tariffs were to continue, they'll add costs. And as I've said before, we can't let a tariff problem become an inflation problem.
The Bank of Canada has kept the key interest rate steady at its past 2 meetings. Market watchers are betting there's a 30% chance the bank will cut rates when it meets again next month. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Perched atop a mountain in Chile, a new telescope is giving humanity a front-seat view to the universe like never before. Thomas Dagler looks at why astronomers around the world, and even here in Canada, are excited.
Space has never looked quite like this before, at least not from Earth. These are among the first images captured by this planet's biggest ever camera. Part of the new Vera Rubin Observatory in the Chilean mountains. Funded by the U.S. government, the project promises a groundbreaking survey of space.
This observatory represents a giant leap in our ability to explore the cosmos and unwrap the mysteries of the universe.
While telescopes like James Webb provide detailed images, think of the Rubin Observatory as taking a panoramic, ultra-high-definition time-lapse of the universe. Enough to impress a room full of would-be astronomers and astrophysicists in Toronto.
It's the first Apollo mission, but for ground-based astronomy.
The hope is researchers right here at the University of Toronto will be able to use that new data to learn more about everything from supernova explosions to what's known as dark energy.
Consider those spots whizzing by, all of them newly seen asteroids, with Rubin discovering 2,000 of them in just a week.
Rubin's just going to show us so much of the universe we've never seen before. It's like opening a trapdoor.
Professor Renee Halajic wrote her first paper on this long-promised telescope nearly 20 years ago.
It's going to basically give me so much data that I can understand what is driving the acceleration of the universe, which is obviously the biggest question out there.
See all those different colors? They provide new insight into the mind-boggling distance to those space objects.
Many of those galaxies are 5 or perhaps even 10 billion light years away and have up to 100 billion stars in them.
The observatory will map the universe for 10 years, providing never-before-seen views, all of them out of this world. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Canadian basketball star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led his team to an NBA championship on Sunday.
It was a win that cemented his status as one of the game's legends. Jamie Strachan explains.
The storybook season is complete.
Canada's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has done it all for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the glass.
Add an NBA championship to the list.
I wouldn't have rather done it with any other group in the world. It feels good to be a champion.
For the man known as SGA, it's the finishing touch on a season for the ages.
As a kid, you dream, and every kid dreams, but you don't ever really know if it's going to come true.
On top of the championship, Gilgeous-Alexander won the league MVP, playoff MVP, and scored the most points this season, something done by only 3 others, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, and Michael Jordan.
He impacts every game and is a great player that is still growing and still improving, but I'm just so impressed by him and what he can do on the court.
Those who have known him since he was a teenager growing up in Hamilton say all of it was achieved through hard work and endless hours in the gym.
I know how much it goes into it, and if people knew how much, they wouldn't be surprised. But when you see all folded out in real time, it's something that it's a work of art. It's a masterpiece, and to be honest.
It was like a hallelujah moment, something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. I just remember all the days going to practices and driving to tournaments.
Basketball fans everywhere have enjoyed this historic season by SGA. Nowhere more so than on courts here in Canada.
It just comes to show that Canadian basketball came a long way and that we have a bunch of good upcoming athletes.
All of this leading to a potentially massive payday. SGA can sign a contract extension this summer that could be worth nearly $400 million. One of the most lucrative contracts ever. And the core of the Thunder is young and only getting better. The beginning of a potential dynasty with a distinctly Canadian flavor.
Knocks down the first. What a special year it's been.
Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
All right, I'm kind of thinking about the sleep tonight, to be honest. I mean, gotta get some fans moved around, some windows
I think
open.
a lot of people will be getting the air circulating if they can.
Yeah, that's right. And there are some great tips online about how to set that fan up just perfectly,
You taught me that.
Well, yeah, try and blow the air out of your room, right? And then it'll be replaced with cooler air. If you don't have an AC unit in your house, there are some great tips. Have a look at our viewer picture of the day. This is a really, really nice one. This was taken in Seaforth, and a beautiful shot here. Asperitas clouds.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, yeah, wavy.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
very cool. Jane, thank you so much for sharing. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Beautiful hot day in Seaforth again tomorrow with temperatures that'll be right near 30. That's going to be the case across most of the province, but cooler in the Cape Breton region and the North Shore thanks to that northerly flow that will kick in, and that is going to usher in the drier air. But, I mean, muggy tonight. That's the case with those dew points that are going to be up in the oppressive range. So it doesn't matter what the temperature is, even though it's cooling off. If the air is still super saturated, your body can't sweat. The sweat doesn't evaporate from your skin, and so it just sits there and makes it feel like, well, you're in a sauna. And that's going to be the case overnight into tomorrow morning. But as we work throughout the day, that dew point will start to tick down, that drier air filtering into the province, and it will be long gone. And Thursday will be like fresh, really fresh, but still pleasant with temperatures into the high teens in the northeast. And we'll be into the low 20s across the central and southwestern areas of the province as well. Do watch, by the way, risk for a shower or rumble of thunder as that front does move through tonight.
Keep an eye for that. Thanks, Ryan. Kids of all ages visited Legoland Shanghai recently, 2 weeks ahead of its grand opening, and it was a trip to remember. The park will be the biggest Legoland in the world. It will feature more than 75 interactive rides, shows, and attractions.
That includes Lego Miniland, which boasts Lego replicas of urban landscapes, historical landmarks, and natural wonders. The sprawling resort features 8 sections, including Ninjago, Lego Friends, and Monkey Kid Lands.
But beware, parents. The bigger the Lego brick, the more intense the pain when you step on it.
For sure.
That is the truth.
I say pack up the kids, Ryan. They're going to want to go.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.